America's Heartland is made possible by Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. Crop Life America, representing the companies whose modern farming innovations help America's farmers provide nutritious food for communities around the globe.
Hi, I'm Rob Stewart. Have you ever thought about a career change? Well, how about taking up farming or ranching? We're going back to school on America's Heartland this time to meet some folks studying to play a role in raising the food that's headed for your dinner table. We'll take you to Florida, where a young couple is not only tapping into the growing demand for organic produce, but teaching others about the benefits of working the land. These youngsters at an inner-city high school in Philadelphia are taking part in an FFA program that prepares them for a future in agriculture. How would you fare on a kitchen cooking test? Well, Sharon Vagnon has some ideas that make it easy for you to serve up a very popular dish. And come along to the Golden State, where students, young and old, learn the basics of successful crop production at the California Farm Academy. It's all coming up on America's Heartland.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand in America's heartland, living close to the land.
If you live in an urban or suburban community, you may never have thought about American agriculture impacting your life. You know, the reality is, however, that agriculture plays a major role in our economic well-being, the prices we pay at the supermarket, nutritional considerations affecting our health, even our access to food in the future. Farm and ranch families make up just 2% of the U.S. population, but their increased productivity in the past half-century has meant that American agriculture has been able to provide food to consumers in the U.S. and play a major role in supplying food worldwide. But it's estimated that the world population will jump from 7 billion people today to more than 9 billion by the year 2050. That rise will create an unprecedented demand for food. At the same time, our farm population is aging. The U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates that we will need tens of thousands of new farmers in the coming decades. Now, there's been a growing interest in farming across the country. Self-sufficient small farms, community-supported agriculture, advances in mechanization and technology, along with consumer trends like organic farming, have all played a role. So if you're looking to get started, why not go back to school? These rolling acres of pristine and prime farmland in Winters, California, are where seeds are being planted to grow farmers for the future of America and the world. Welcome to the farm on Puda Creek.
Basket weave a little bit more.
Home to the acclaimed California Farm Academy, where future farmers get their hands in the dirt and learn what it takes to produce food for new consumer demands as well as the world's growing population.
To train beginning farmers, to train the next generation. We have a really aging farm population in the United States. About 58 is the average age of a farmer, and so we really need the next set of farmers to continue this wonderful tradition and to produce food for all of us.
That challenge and demand prompts students to enroll at the Farm Academy. The Academy is just one of the programs offered by the Center for Land-Based Learning, promoting connections between agriculture, nature, and society. Teachers and mentors share hands-on learning with farming's newest crop of beginners.
They're also not as deep, dark versus something like this.
I think now's the time, frankly, to have new people come into farming because not all the farm families we have now have a successor. A lot of them don't know who's going to continue their farm operation. So while we have an increase in population and more people who need our fresh, sustainable food, we need to preserve all of these farms and working lands in the face of additional population pressures and development, we don't necessarily have that cohort of young farmers to take their place.
They're getting really hidden though because they're bushing.
Yeah.
So,
the heirlooms are huge though.
Yeah.
Farming is a brand new career for Jason Graff. After years in the classroom as a teacher, Jason is now the student, with a lot to learn about the organic farming practices here.
There is so much to learn about farming, and any farmer who tells you that they know it all, you just gotta kind of smile and say, okay, because things change all the time. The weather changes, crops change, pests change, growing conditions change.
There is a science to 21st century agriculture that these students are eager to learn. Their skills will be tested as farmers are being challenged to produce and deliver quality food while sharing limited resources like land and water. And the biggest challenge of all, dealing with the day-to-day bumps in the field.
If during the California Farm Academy they have a hard time with greenhouse work. It's something that you have to be in at the farm every single day, and it's, you know, say in their future career they might have a farm that's located 12 miles away and they have to get to the greenhouse every day. That might be a challenge, and this gives them an opportunity to practice and to figure out what techniques they like, what tools they prefer, and what it feels like to do it for 8 hours if they need to.
These students will be in this classroom in the country for 9 months, including an intensive program on the business side of farming. Once they graduate, new farmers can lease plots of land at less than typical market rates for up to 3 years. That combination of saving money and providing fresh food is attractive to student Stella Ruiz.
I have a son with Down syndrome, and we just started a taco truck business for him. And I also work with kids in a high crime, high poverty area at a very low performing elementary school, and have helped them start their own restaurant. And so in both enterprises, it's about helping vulnerable populations learn how to run a business, and thought it would be really fun to roll it back to where the food actually comes from.
For Stella, the lessons on this land, in both classroom and fieldwork, deliver insights at a physical and intellectual level.
I feel like I'm a better human being for really being able to appreciate how much goes into farming and how thin the profit is and how much work, and I'm just grateful for everyone who is involved in that.
For the students here, the Farm Academy delivers a certain kind of satisfaction from life-changing experiences.
I thought that this was a perfect opportunity for me to become a farmer. The most satisfying aspect is all the food, and being able to eat fresh food that you pick yourself and bring home. There's nothing like it. So that for me is the big reward, to see the fruits of your labor.
In addition to increasing productivity, American farmers have made dramatic environmental strides. Crop rotation has improved sustainability, and conservation tillage to reduce erosion has grown from 17% in 1982 to more than 60% today. New stands of trees have been planted on many farms, and more than half of American farmers provide habitat for wildlife.
If you grew up on a farm or ranch, it may be a given that you take over the family operation. We've just met some folks starting out in agriculture, but let's introduce you to some others who've decided that they too want to look ahead to a career in some sort of agriculture. Well, if you're thinking that we're taking you to some rural community in the Heartland, well, think again. These young folks are inner city youngsters in the heart of Philadelphia. Philadelphia, the birthplace of America, the city of brotherly love. But right in the middle of one of the largest cities in the country is a high school whose students have a heart for the Heartland. You see, when these teens leave their classrooms and books, it's all about cow pens and brooms. That's daily life at W.B. Saul High School, a farm school, so to speak, with one of the largest FFA chapters in the country. Students spend half the day in class, and for the other half, it's all ag. So Daryl, this is no joke. I mean, this is serious hard work.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty tough to do this every day, so.
Every day?
Every day. We come out here, feed the cows, get the stalls cleaned and everything like that.
So you really are living life on the farm?
Basically, yeah.
At school?
At school.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel that I'm very privileged to go to the school because they give you a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't, if I went to another school like my local school, I wouldn't get.
Daryl Blakey is one of 550 inner city students who choose to spend their high school years learning about agriculture. This school has inspired his dreams.
Go to college and run cross country in college and then graduate and have a farm one day.
Have a farm?
Yeah.
Has this helped you want to have a farm?
Yeah, FFA and the school and 4-H has helped me know my future and what I want.
Come on, walk on.
Nyasia Santiago is willing to spend 3 hours a day getting to and from school for the ag opportunities at Saul.
This school opened my eyes to what I want to do for the rest of my life. Before, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just had no clue, and then I came here and it just opened my eyes to it, and I was like, that's what I'm going to do.
When these kids come to school today, you have a hard time getting them out of here at the end of the day. And it's quite an experience, you know, that they learn that their food just doesn't come from the supermarket. It comes from, you know, away from here.
This school is about all aspects of ag. Students learn about greenhouses, even landscape design, and a year-long course in food processing.
You remember we take that little fillet off here?
Life lessons are learned here in more ways than one. Today, the students are preparing a steer for an inner-city homeless shelter.
Remember what I said about protein and how hard it is for them to get protein?
The interesting thing about this whole program is to watch them grow from beginning to end. They first come back here and see a hindquarter or a chuck of beef. Oh my gosh, and now it's, okay, now what are we going to make out of it? So it goes from, we love to do everything at Saul from farm to table.
Saul is stiff competition. More than 800 students apply each year, and less than 200 are accepted.
I think that they learn responsibility because it doesn't matter really which side they're on, whether it's the animal side or the horse side, they're responsible for caring for something, and they get to see the fruits of their labor.
For Principal Wendy Shapiro, the impact of agriculture is as life-changing as academics.
You know what, you take kids out of the inner city and you watch them come here. It's exciting, and I just think it just shows the world that kids in Philadelphia can do anything they put their minds to do.
For Nyasia,
I wouldn't want to go to any other high school than this.
And for Daryl, that success is learned from lessons of the land.
So has this school helped you fall in love with farming?
Yeah.
Really?
I can actually say that at the school, yeah.
That you fall in love with
falling
farming?
in love with farming at the school, yeah.
Well, good for you.
Thank you.
There are more than 7,400 FFA chapters in the U.S., Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, both in rural and urban areas. And those blue jackets worn by FFA members made their national appearance in 1933, 5 years after the organization was founded.
I think you recognize by now that we all benefit from the work done by farmers and ranchers. At its most simple, the availability of fresh meats, produce, or other crops that make it possible for us to enjoy great meals at a reasonable price. So let's go from farm to fork with our Sharon Vaknin. She has a great suggestion on something tasty to try.
Today we're making two dishes that show off just how versatile apples can be. First, it's an apple, fennel, and celery salad with a yogurt dressing. Then we're making endive boats with caramelized apples and crispy pancetta. The salad is light, it's refreshing, and you can make it in advance to serve at a party. So for the celery, I like thin slices. That's gonna give us a really nice crunch in the salad. Then it's our fennel.
So for fennel, I like to slice it really thinly. It's almost shaved. That's enough. We don't want to overpower the flavor of the apples. And finally, the star of our dish, apples. But for this salad, I chose the Braeburn apple. It's sweet, it's tart, and it's not too sour, so it pairs nicely with our other ingredients. To prep our apples for the salad, I keep it really simple. I'll core them first. All we'll do to these apples is slice them thinly. Those look beautiful. And now our herbs. For this salad, I chose mint to give it a bright, fresh flavor, and tarragon. Tarragon has a licorice, peppery flavor and will go great with that fennel. So just a sprig or two, then bundle them all up and run the knife through. The mint makes the salad really refreshing. The last couple ingredients that go in here are dried cranberries, then almonds to add a little nutty flavor. Now for our dressing, we'll need Greek yogurt, cinnamon, honey, and champagne vinegar. The champagne vinegar will help us thin it out a little bit, but also keep the brightness of the dish. A little bit of cinnamon, honey, so a little bit of salt, and a hint of pepper. Give it a whisk. Dressing is done, we'll pour it right on top. We'll mix this up. Make sure every bit of the salad is coated with that yogurt dressing. This looks perfect, so I'll put this in the fridge to chill and then we'll work on our next dish. Now let's work on our caramelized apple endive boats. For this dish, I have 3 types of apples: Granny Smith, Fuji, and Pink Lady. The Granny Smith is the only one I want to peel because it has a much tougher skin and it's not really something you want to bite into. And I'll just core the apple. We'll just cube them up nicely like that. There's our Granny Smith. And now onto our Fuji apple. For this, I'll do the same thing, just core it and cube it. And finally, onto my favorite variety of apple, the Pink Lady apple. We'll keep the skin on for this one too. All of our apples are chopped, and with this blend of varieties, we'll get caramelized apples that are both sweet and tart and will hold their shape once they're caramelized. Let's get to it. Caramelizing our apples for these endive boats is a lot easier than it sounds. First, we'll melt some butter. And while that butter melts, we'll get started on our crispy pancetta. I've just taken pancetta and diced it. We'll put it right into a hot pan. And once the butter is melted, in go our apples. The apples and the pancetta go together really nicely here because the pancetta is cured with peppercorn and fennel, and those are great combinations with apple. Now that these apples have sauteed in the butter for a little bit, they've gotten soft, so it's time to add our cornstarch. And I've dissolved it in water here so that it doesn't clump up. Goes right in there, along with half a cup of brown sugar. We'll stir it up to incorporate it, and then we'll let it caramelize for a few more minutes. Just be sure not to overcook it. The pancetta looks nice and crispy, so that can go onto a paper towel. And our apples look ready too. We'll put it right in. We'll let these cool just a bit, and then we'll be ready to assemble our endive boats. Putting these guys together is really simple. I've got one head of Belgian endive right here, and I'll just lay them on the plate. Then we'll take a little bit of our caramelized apple, put it right in there, and top it with a few bits of that crispy pancetta. How gorgeous is that? And now you can see why I left that skin on. It gives this dish a really nice bright color. Our endive boats are done. They're sweet, they're salty, and they're a perfect bite-sized appetizer. Then we've got our apple, fennel, and celery salad that's been chilling in the fridge with the minty yogurt dressing. We've used 4 different types of apples to make 2 beautiful, bright dishes that really show just how versatile apples can be.
Learning to farm can mean a combination of classroom and hands-on experience. A growing consumer demand for organic produce has provided the opportunity for many to start farming in a small way. Our Jason Shoultz found a young couple in Florida whose farm gave them a chance to not only demonstrate the importance of agriculture, but also turn their education into action.
It's a sunny Wednesday morning at the Fisherman's Village shopping mall in Punta Gorda, Florida. And the Warden's Farmers Market has got your greens,
so you can saute them or
tomatoes and sweet corn, all standard farmers market fare. But in the corner
it tastes like cauliflower.
Is an interesting looking vegetable called Romanesco that attracts quite a bit of attention.
You just kind of steam it for a while.
Yes, you can steam it and add a little salt and you're there.
Darn.
Fortunately for customers, the farmer who grew that unusually pointed produce is close by and willing to share cooking tips.
People really like to diversify their diets, and it's a nice way to add excitement to what would normally be just a regular household activity.
Eva Warden and her husband Chris are the owners of Warden Farm. The organic fruit and vegetable farm is located about 15 miles from downtown Punta Gorda. In many ways, it's a return to farming of past generations. The Wardens sell produce and feed their family with the livestock and produce raised on the farm. The Wardens also connect with their customers through a community-supported agriculture program where members pay for a yearly membership and receive seasonal produce weekly.
Nice, thank you.
Chris and Eva have PhDs in agriculture-related fields. Instead of testing their theories in academia, they put them to the test in the real world.
I use my research and my education every day here at the farm. Looking at innovations to bring to production, refining irrigation, looking at water, moisture, soil testing, and plant leaf testing.
I think that growing up in the suburbs for me and having food come to me with no story behind it was something that I wanted to rectify. And doing that as an adult, being able to grow my own food was very satisfying.
The couple hasn't given up on their educational roots altogether. During the growing season, you'll find about half dozen people getting hands-on lessons in farming. The Wardens attract apprentices from all over North America. Jean-Michel Arquin-Boucher and Karine Bertrand operate a small farm near Montreal, Canada. They're spending their winter in Florida at Warden Farm.
You need to work on a farm, that's how you're gonna learn, especially if you're not from a farming background, as we are. You can also go to formal classes, but when you do the full season, you really get to learn how it really works.
You're learning about soil, you're learning about microorganisms, you're learning about physiology, plant physiology, but when you're in the field and you saw the plants growing and you see, okay, it's warm, there's water, okay, it's growing really fast.
The Wardens are familiar with growing fast. Their farm has grown significantly since Chris and Eva started working 8 acres of this ground in 2004.
For all the people that buy their produce at the grocery store that live in the suburbs today, they're saying, what's wrong with that? Why can't I get my produce at the grocery store? Do I have to have a connection with the farmer?
When we have different priorities in our lives, we make different choices. So if somebody doesn't have it as a priority, then I respect that. I also, though, believe that there's much to be gained on the personal, individual level and also the societal level for people connecting to a farm.
Farmers Market customer Mary McLaughlin quickly picks up some fresh produce while her husband fuels up their boat at the nearby dock.
I'm glad to have them right here, have the farmers market right here.
This Vermont snowbird says even on the water, the fresh produce is a way for her to connect with the wardens.
It doesn't get any fresher than this. You get more out of it this way. The farmer gets more money.
Well, that's all from Warden Farm in Punta Gorda, Florida. I'm Jason Shoultz. Thanks for joining us. And we got some produce to take inside, huh?
Yeah, take the light farm, go inside.
All right.
We've shared some great stories and great recipes with you on the show this time. If you missed something or want to check out videos from any of our America's Heartland programs, just log on to our website at americasheartland.org. And don't forget, you can also connect to us through many of your social media websites as well. We'll see you next time on America's Heartland.
You can purchase a DVD or Blu-ray copy of this program. Here's the cost. To order, just visit us online or call 888-814-3923.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand in America's heartland. Living close to the land.
America's Heartland is made possible by Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. Crop Life America, representing the companies whose modern farming innovations help America's farmers provide nutritious food for communities around the globe. America's Heartland is made possible by Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. Crop Life America, representing the companies whose modern farming innovations help America's farmers provide nutritious food for communities around the globe.
Hi, I'm Rob Stewart. Have you ever thought about a career change? Well, how about taking up farming or ranching? We're going back to school in America's Heartland this time to meet some folks studying to play a role in raising the food that's headed for your dinner table. We'll take you to Florida, where a young couple is not only tapping into the growing demand for organic produce, but teaching others about the benefits of working the land. These youngsters at an inner-city high school in Philadelphia are taking part in an FFA program that prepares them for a future in agriculture. How would you fare on a kitchen cooking test? Well, Sharon Vaknin has some ideas that make it easy.
In the brand, in America's heartland, living close to the land.
If you live in an urban or suburban community, you may never have thought about American agriculture impacting your life. You know, the reality is, however, that agriculture plays a major role in our economic well-being, the prices we pay at the supermarket, nutrition for you to serve up a very popular dish. And come along to the Golden State, where students, young and old, learn the basics of successful crop production at the California Farm Academy. It's all coming up on America's Heartland.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride.
Nutritional considerations affecting our health, even our access to food in the future. Farm and ranch families make up just 2% of the U.S. population, but their increased productivity in the past half century has meant that American agriculture has been able to provide food to consumers in the U.S. and play a major role in supplying food worldwide. But it's estimated that the world population will jump from 7 billion people today to more than 9 billion by the year 2050. That rise will create